So today I'm going to be talking about mindfulness, which is the practice of focusing on your emotions and thoughts in the present moment, which seems like something that's in conflict with what we tend to do with technology today. It tends to focus us outwards and focus on the new and the future. So how could these two things actually come together? And even talking about mindfulness can be an interesting challenge because people think of meditation, they might think of having to achieve some kind of cosmic awareness, or they think of extreme yoga positions where people use their mind and body control to twist into pretzel positions, which is kind of daunting for the flexibly challenged like me. But when you really think about mindfulness, you can get started pretty easily with something that's called the raisin exercise if you want to try this. Where you take a raisin and you use all of your senses to really focus in and experience that raisin. You take a look at it, look at all the nooks and crannies, look at the way the light kind of shines through it a little bit, feel the texture in your hand, feel how sticky it is, bring it up and smell it, put it in your mouth, feel the texture. I could spend actually the rest of the PechaKucha just talking about how you could experience this raisin. But the point of all of that is you're really bringing all of your senses to bear, and your thoughts and your emotions are really starting to pay attention to those things. So that's one half of mindfulness that's really important, and the other half is an acceptance of some of those emotions. So maybe you feel uncomfortable with the idea of spending so much time on a raisin, or you're wondering why I was talking so much about a raisin. And that's okay. It's kind of unusual for us to spend this kind of focus. So you accept that discomfort, but then you just let that discomfort go and continue with what you're trying to do. And one of the benefits of that, and research has shown a lot of different benefits for mindfulness activities, is that you start to be able to regulate your emotions. You start to let go of your own ego, and you start to be able to have more empathy with other people. Another thing is that you're able to focus your attention more efficiently and effectively. And that's something that's really important in educational situations. A lot of children, even at a young age, there's a lot of different distractions. And educational institutions tend to also focus on more mental skills and topic skills like math and English, and not so much on social and emotional development, which is what mindfulness helps you develop. So in 2009, the Dalai Lama issued a challenge for educational institutions to integrate social and emotional learning into their curriculum, and not just teach to the mind, but also teach to the heart. In 2013, I was privileged to be part of a group, UX for Good, who partnered with the Dalai Lama Center in Vancouver. And the challenge was to figure out how could we do some kind of intensive conceptual design process in order to try to meet some of these challenges. This was founded by Jason Ulazik and Jeff Leitner, and here's the team of 12. We also have Brian Winters here, was with me on that. And we traveled to Vancouver, and we did what designers love to do, which is we all hopped in a van, and we went out to different schools and interviewed teachers. We interviewed community leaders. We talked to teens who had gone through substance abuse programs where they had used these kinds of exercises in their therapy. And we were able to do something really amazing, too, which is visit classrooms to see where there were mindfulness activities made part of the student experience in the daily process, and to hear from the students themselves how they felt about it. So these kids had reactions afterwards saying, I feel smarter after this activity, I feel calmer, or I feel kinder, which is such an unusual thing to hear from a small child. I feel kinder towards the others in my class. So we were able to see this impact, this amazing impact in person, but we still had that question, what can technology do to make this more effective? How can we help connect people? How is it, there's so many different distractions that are possible with all of these different social networks, but it comes from a good place of wanting to connect with others and hear from others. So we brought that, which was our background, a lot of us were digital designers, we brought that back with us to do another thing that designers love to do, which is basically plaster sticky notes all over the walls. We brought a lot of different images that we had seen from our trips to the schools, stories that we had heard told, and we tried to synthesize that down into some concepts that we think could be incorporated in a school curriculum or a day-to-day practice between adults and kids. One of the concepts, the ideas that came out of this was based on this idea of gifts of gratitude. So one of the schools had these lovely hearts where students would write down something that somebody else had done for them that day and share it. And research shows that just that act of demonstrating your gratitude actually leads to greater happiness. So we knew this was something that was really important to try to express. So one of our concepts was to create this place for social emotional expression. Picture like a Pinterest board where people could share these these acts of gratitude to others that could not only just be person to person anonymously if needed, but could be something that you could see at the whole school level too, or maybe even at the community level, and get a feeling for that level of mood. We also talked about resources for supporting others. And this was a really impactful story for me. One girl was talking about how she was asked who she thought was an adult ally, and she mentioned a teacher she'd actually never even taken a class with, who stopped a fight in the hallway that she was in. And those 2 minutes really made a big impact. And she called that person an ally, but that person didn't even know for 2 years that she was considered an ally. So we wanted to give adults some kind of tool, and we ended up working with this heart-shaped toolbox idea, where an adult can say, you know what, I have 10 minutes, how can I promote empathy? Or I have 30 minutes, how can I do something that's restful? And that brings out activities that are easy to conduct with kids, and share those activities with each other so that it's an ongoing, growing knowledge base. And we're happy to say that in 2014, the Dalai Lama Center did get funding to make some of these concepts a reality, and in particular, the rebranded tool Heart Minds Online, which is supposed to come out this year. So there were a lot of things that we were able to actually make part of different educational systems and develop further. What's next for UX for Good? They're working with a different team of designers and going to Rwanda, partnering with the Aegis Trust, who created a genocide memorial out there, to try to understand how to take the feelings that come from visitors who visit that memorial and actually create sustainable action out of that. There's a Kickstarter, by the way, for that, if you're interested in making that a reality. And just for me personally, this had a huge impact just on how I teach and some of the materials I wanted to create. So we mentioned the adventures in experience design. I think that there's a lot that design process actually teaches us about empathy for others and being creative as well as being rational with critical thinking. So that's been a key part of my outlook since this great experience. Thank you.